do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time,
All righty, good morning and welcome to CRCS. So we summarily call it the Calories Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and we are just absolutely delighted and thank you for joining in on today's program. As usual, the contact number is 516-453-9921. And if you have a question or a comment, just press the number 1 button and wait until you are recognized. And then make sure that you give that person your name. And we'll go from there. If you are a first-time caller, you do the same thing, only just indicate that you are a first-time caller, and then they will forward your name on the screen so that I can get that. Now, you can do this. You can Gmail me if you like to, and that is the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, MRBOBBY, at gmail.com. I will get that Gmail, and more than likely I won't read it today, but sometimes some things happen and I can read it, but it will be read, and then I will let you know about that. And lastly, you can join the chat room, and all you have to do for that is go to blogtalkradio.com. You want to click on where it says programs, and when the program menu comes up, you want to hit that, and you will get a list of shows. And the show that you want is the Produce Justice Show. You click on that, and then that gives you access to the chat room, and you can get in the chat room and have some pretty nice conversations in there right now. Emery Lumumba is in there, and Chatas number 7 is in there. Yeah, you might want to check that out. There's some good information that is in there. And occasionally I will glean a question from the chat and ask Mr. Fuller about that, and we'll go on from there. All righty. Let's see here. Oh, yes, books. Mr. Fuller has written the book that he will be discussing throughout all the airtime that we have here, and it is the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. And you can get that book by going to producejustice.com. Producejustice.com. And I suggest that you get that book. If you don't have it, it's
I'm not hearing anything. you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time. If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
Okay, Robert. All righty. I see right now that we have usual suspects in play. Sorry about that. Mr. Fuller, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. It's going to be one of them kind of days, but guess what? We're going to work right through it. All right.
Yes,
well,
it is.
Yeah, that's okay. Let's get with it here. Mr. Fuller's we have a section called The Thoughts and Expressions on the Mind of Neely Fuller Jr. So, Mr. Fuller, without further delay, what's on your mind today?
What's on my mind right now is we got to make a connection. So I want the people who have been very patient, who are still on and haven't gotten too disgusted, to just start calling in.
Yeah, we have at least one caller in right now, but yeah, we'll go ahead and proceed with the show. Usual suspects are in play, but that's all right. Okay. To tell you what, then all right, then we'll go back to here. Let's see if we can get John here. John in Houston. Okay, John, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Well, it wasn't your fault. It was some old stuff going on here. But anyway, don't worry about it. We'll go ahead on.
The gremlins are. This is the Halloween time of the year. The gremlins are afoot. Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah, go ahead, John. What's your question, Mr. Fuller?
My only question was, in my understanding from my elder, and good morning, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., is that he only uses the three phrases, white, non-white, and white supremacists. But my concern is that all whites are suspected white supremacists until confirmed. In what fashion? But for the non-white individual, how is it confirmed when a non-white is a white supremacist? And I'll hold on. I had a follow-up for that, if you don't mind, Mr. Bobby. And thank you again. Good morning.
The white supremacists, if I understand the question, make up the categories. Black people didn't make up any categories for race, as far as I know. And if they did, somebody can tell me when this happened. It had to be a white person, logically speaking. And that's when white supremacy began. So the first thing you'd have to do, logically speaking, is make up categories. So the white supremacists invented the categories of white, non-white, and white supremacists. But you can only be eligible to be a white supremacist if you're first of all classified as white. So they made up these classifications. I made up the words that express them, but in actual practice, the white supremacists, being supreme, being in a supreme position, they said, these are the categories. You're either white or you're not. Get that straight first. And if you're white, then you are eligible to join the white race. And they say, and a person doesn't know anything about anything, listening to that, like at one time I didn't know. Somebody had to tell me all this. So what I was told, either directly or indirectly, that you are in the non-white category, Neely Fuller, wherever you are on the planet. So therefore, you are eligible to be a person once we decided, we meaning the white supremacists, decided that you are a full person, you are that. But you're a person who's in a category who is only eligible to be mistreated by anybody who's classified as white. And the mistreatment, the domination, will be for the benefit, first of all, for everybody who's classified as white, and whatever benefits someone classified as white decides that you will get, Neely Fuller, in your non-white category. It's whatever we decide from minute to minute. We, meaning we white people who have decided to join the white race. And you among the non-white category. So among non-white, you have black, brown, red, yellow, if you want to subdivide it like that. But the major category is non-white. You're not white. And that's huge. I mean, you're non-white, and that means you are, if you want to use this expression, you're nothing. On account of your skin color, you're nothing. Get that through your thick skull right out the gate. And we decide when you're something. We, meaning many members of the white race. And you are not members of the white race. You are members of the non-white category. And we'll call you a race when we feel like it. But basically, you're just nothing. It's just another way of saying you're nothing, except some furniture for me to use because my skin is white and your skin is not. Even though you may say that you are a person, you're not even that unless I say you are. So that's basically all that it is. It's the most powerful political idea, meaning something that has, by political, I mean something that has to do with people, ever thought up. Because everybody talks about it, but if all the scientists, all the professors, all the preachers, we just talk and talk. Neely Fuller's right now in 2024 talking about it, but nobody knows what to do about this thing called racism other than the racists themselves. And they prove it by doing it, according to the evidence. So that's where the categories came from.
Well, thank you, my elder. Let me just say this, and I think I understand clearly what he was saying, Mr. Bobby. Could you elaborate on how people are either deceived or convinced themselves in these ethnic groups in mass migration, especially with immigration being this top priority?
Now, are you asking that of Mr. Fuller, or are you asking?
Yeah, I am. I'm saying, how do you, either both of you actually, how
I'll let Mr. Fuller answer that one.
How do you see the extended whiteness or the category of white as he just described are extended to other ethnic groups over time with each of these mass migrations?
Yeah,
and thank you for the time, Mr. Bobby. Have a wonderful day.
Okay. Mr. Fuller?
Yes, evidently I'm not answering the question, but I think I am. People who decided to be white supremacists became dominant over everybody who says is not white.
Mm-hmm.
And the evidence shows that. That's not Neely Fuller. And how did it get that way? The white supremacists, the white people, the people who classify themselves as white, they do all of the classifying. And you might say, well, how did they pull that off? They just pulled it off.
They just pulled it off.
Wasn't nobody protesting, and wasn't nobody showing no muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And they just went all over the world and say, I'm white.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of my way.
Uh-huh.
And you say, get out of your way for what reason? Your way? What is your way?
Okay.
My way is any way I want it to be, and you can't contest me because you are too ignorant to do so.
Okay.
That's what they said.
That's exactly.
And then they proved it.
Mm-hmm.
They proved that what they said was going to be the dominant thing. Nobody else was doing anything. Nobody else was stopping them. They weren't stopping themselves. So it's just that simple. We're going to run the world based on something that we invented called racism. Now, how about that?
Let me, and thank you again, John, Houston, being a loyal listener. Mr. Fuller, before we continue with the show, I remember or recall that you once said, if I have it correctly, to expect the worst but hope for the best, or something like that. What was that you said?
It's an old saying.
Yes.
Hope for the best, expect the worst, and then compensate for what, by looking at the worst, thinking about the best, and then making the best become a reality.
Okay.
Some people
I
say,
had it wrong.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had it wrong because I was thinking about this incident that happened this morning, and you always have pointed out when things like this happen, the usual suspects are in play for whatever their reason. And I use that because when I was, as you know, we call into the show and then get things ready to go. And I was thinking about that. I was expecting something to happen, hoping that it wouldn't happen. But if it did, continue to follow through on whatever needed to be done. So music, I guess, came on in the background while the problem was worked out. So I just wanted to point that out to the listeners to what you said, hope for the best, but expect the worst.
Expect the worst.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then work still for the best. Why?
Yes.
Because the only other option is to do nothing.
Right.
Now, I could just fold up right now and get off the air forever.
Correct.
Okay. But that, according to the code, I'm supposed to keep on plugging. Now, the white supremacists are the masters of psychological warfare, if you want to call it that.
Exactly.
So they say, Fuller's going to lose a lot of listeners today because people are going to get tired of holding the phone.
That's right.
And to switch to somebody else to listen to.
And this was a prime example of that because you know how we usually come on and do the show. We speak to Robert and get everything all set up, and it was going beautifully, and then I'm talking, and then boom, nothing right there. But rather than panic, I stayed focused on what had to be done, knowing that it would be worked out.
Here we go again.
But that's okay, because we still are going to go on and do what we have to do. Because we're going to
the white supremacists know this.
Yes.
See, they know that people get impatient and all like that. I know. I do. I'm quite sure that you do, and everybody connected with this show. I mean, we know things are happening, but they happen.
Right.
We don't know why, but we just tell the truth. We tell the audience this.
Exactly.
Now, here we go. I mean, we're pushing the correct buttons, we think. It usually works, but sometimes it doesn't. And we don't know why, but there's a reason why, because it's not working.
Right. I guess the point that I was trying to make, and to everybody, including myself, is no matter what, stay focused, hope for the best, but expect the worst to happen. And when it does, like you said, compensate and keep on moving. Keep on going.
Yes.
So we're going to keep on going with, here they go again, but that's okay. Let's go to Douglas in Pennsylvania. Douglas, let me see if I can get you in here. Okay, wait a minute. There you. All right, Douglas, are you on there?
Hey, good morning, Bobby. Good morning,
good morning.
Mr. Fuller.
Pardon that background. You know what we're fighting against this morning.
My question for Mr. Fuller is, Mr. Fuller, do you believe that we are in the refinement stage of the system of white supremacy, racism?
Yes, sir. That's what I believe. Because the refinement stage is that most white people will be saying that they're trying to solve the problem. All right. But nothing basically changes. Now, I saw a clipping of some type last night on television where a white man was talking about getting rid of the system of white supremacy. And he was talking directly to white people, which is what the code recommends. Because white people can, if they roll up their sleeves, and the record shows under the system of white supremacy, when they really get into it and decide we're going to make a new computer, or we decide we're going to make a new type of vehicle for transportation, when they really get serious about it, it gets done. We've seen evidence of that. Sometimes overnight, things that people have been trying to figure out what to do for 1,000 years. And overnight, they were just to say, you know what, I'm tired of fooling with this. So in the next 24 hours, I'm going to do it. And they do it. I mean, in a 24-hour span, they do what hasn't been done in 1,000 years. We've seen that. Just out of nowhere, stuff comes up like AI. So now there'll be some black person to say, well, I know the black person that invented AI, but they killed it. Mm-hmm. Okay, now that might be true, but you have no way of proving it.
Yeah. Okay.
You can say it, but you got no way of proving it, because if the white supremacists don't agree, they say, oh no. Mm-hmm. There was a white man from Lexington, Kentucky, and really, it wasn't a white, what we would call a white man, because he was 17 years old. He wasn't of age. Mm-hmm. But he invented AI. And I got his name and address and everything. We'll put them on television. And it won't be true at all. But no black person can overrule it. We can say it. No, that guy lives next door to me. I know him. He's black. You know, but the white supremacist said, I said he's white. Now, what are you going to do, whip me?
All righty. Douglas, did that answer your question before we go to break?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Douglas, and appreciate you listening. We're going to take a little small pause for the cause. You're listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and we thank you for your listenership, and we would love for you to get in contact with the show in spite of all the things that are happening in the background. It's not Mr. Fuller's fault. It's not my fault. You know what's going on. But anyway, here's the number that you call into, 516-453-9921. And if you have a question or a comment, in spite of what's going on in the background, just press the number 1 button and wait until you are recognized. And when you are, they will give them your name so that I can properly give you the introduction, and we can go on from there. The book that Mr. Fuller will be talking about is the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, which we are actually doing right now, going through it. Yeah, putting it right to the test. But you can get that book by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. And all the arrangements as far as delivery, logistics, and all that have been worked out. And I'm just making a suggestion that you get the book and you get it and read it and find out what is relevant to you and what is not, and go on from there. That's at producejustice.com. First-time callers, you can call right in that number, 516-453-9921. And when you get recognized, be sure to give the person on the other end your name so that I can properly give you an introduction. All right, the show goes on, and there we got a new caller. I see your dollar bill down there. We are told to call it Joshua, but I now pronounce it as Joshua. But anyway, those with biblical understanding understand what I mean. But for here in this concept, the Northwestern Hemisphere is called Joshua. Joshua, new caller from Central Illinois. Let me see if I can get this over there and get you in. And you are in. Good morning. And what is your question for Mr. Fuller?
Well, if you're going to say Yahshua, you probably want to go to the Aramaic Yeshua.
Okay.
I'm just saying if you're going to go back to the base.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
but anyway,
that's fair.
Go ahead.
You did that. I didn't do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir. I think a lot of the times when we're talking on the subject matter, I'd be concerned about the people speaking on it and see their passport to see if they've ever seen other ways and other places. Because in my early 20s, I did some traveling. I did end up in Africa and Bangladesh. I did see other ways, and I came back to America, and I was so happy to be home because the way that things are in other places, it's not racism in other places. Obviously, there's a caste system. There's racial elements, tribal elements. And when I come home to America, I gotta say, we're a spoiled bunch. So my question is, when it comes to white supremacy, are the people claiming that is a controlling factor in our society? Are the people saying that? Have they been anywhere else in the world?
Have they? You ask the people, have they been anywhere else in the world? A lot of people have asked.
Yes, sir. Have they been to Asian countries and African countries and Eastern European countries and South American countries?
Many people have told me that they have been just about all over the world, okay? And they say what you're saying, that in this part of the world is the best part. And I agree with that, because that's the truth. If you happen to be here, that's why people are crossing the border trying to get here in what they call the United States of America. But the white people who are here apparently have, well, to sum it up, more knowledge and understanding of how things work better than they work any place else. But the question is, how does racism factor into this? It's because the white supremacists and just about everybody else say that, well, racism factors into everything going on in the world, because what the smartest, and some white people are smarter than others, the smartest white people who unfortunately happen to be white supremacists, most of them are located in this area of the world that we call North, El Norte, or whatever you want to call it, America. That's just a label. But you just say, we're the smartest people on the planet. That's how you look at the planet. If you've never been to the planet before, don't know anything about the planet, but somebody from where you're from said, well, where are you? And they will say, well, I'm in a place among a bunch of whole creatures who called this area where I am something called the United States of America. They say, oh, is that what they call it? Say, yes, that's where I am located, but I'm from some planet that nobody never heard of. But I just arrived, and they told me where I was, what they call it. We call it something else, where I came from, but they call it the United States of America. And so if the person looks around and says, well, they have something called categories of people by race, and some creatures called the white race here in this place called North America seem to be the smartest people on this entire thing that they call the planet Earth. So that's where I am. And this is a person from outer space, all right? Just hypothetical. And that's how it just worked out that way. Now, when I look at it, Neely Fuller, I say I agree, apparently, because I see people crossing borders and tearing down fences and trying to sneak around fences. And this is people who, many of them are classified as white, along with a whole lot of people who are classified as non-white, trying to get away from where they were born. I want to get out of here. I cannot stand it. I mean, not one more minute. I'll do anything to get out of here and go to El Norte or the United States of America. I've heard about it, read about it. I want to go there. That's the next thing to heaven that there is on this planet. And then they prove it by, like I said, babies falling in the water. I got the babies in the arms. And they're hanging on the side of a boat, trying to get across an ocean, hanging on the side of a boat. Baby in one arm, and then trying to hang on the side of the boat with the other. That's desperation. That's desperation. Then they slowly slide into the water because there's no space on the boat to get to where these magic people are. So we're just talking about geographical location. But collectively, space is made for a whole lot of people who are classified as white. But sometimes the boats just get overloaded, and white people drown trying to get to where the smartest white people are. Now, that's what Neely Fuller sees.
Yes.
Now, if somebody else sees something else, like the caller, doesn't see anything different from what I agree with, I just said it and elaborated on it, then they can tell me what they see and say that there is some other place. Because I'm quite sure when people hear about it, including me, I'm going to be trying to get there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, Joshua, he's gone now, first-time caller. But if you're still listening to it, Joshua, you can call back again. We appreciate you, all first-time callers. Okay, let's do this. This comes from Ray. He says this, Mr. Fuller has repeated a statement made by a white woman over the years that, quote, racism isn't rocket scientist, it's harder, end of quote. Mr. Fuller also stated that anything that people put together, they can take it apart. What is Mr. Fuller's thoughts on using artificial intelligence to destroy the system of white supremacy?
You use what you can. That's all. Like I'm doing now. They allow me to write a book and to be on this program. even though I get distortions on the program. But they still allow me to do it. I'm still talking right now. They could just cut it off altogether. No explanation. And
Exactly.
when I reapply, they can just say, "Oh, you've been canceled." They'll say, "Well, that's too bad." And I will say, "Well, that's not right. You got everybody else on what they call podcasts and all like that. Why are you saying I can't operate?" Because I said it. Do you know any black person that can whip me? Are you going to whip me for? You going to whip all my staff and whatnot? And then they jump in line and do what you want done? Do you know where you are? You're on my planet. You don't have any rights here. And if somebody told me that this morning, who am I going to run to? Is anybody in my audience, that can say, "Fuller, all you got to do is call me"? Call in right now and say, all you got to do, Fuller, if that happens to you, all you got to do is call me. And that person is black. And what Neely Fuller will say, give me your instructions. Say, you've already done it, Fuller. All right, I'm on the line now. I'm the bottom line. I'm black, and I'm on the bottom line, and right now I'm traveling in Botswana. But I will take care of this in the next 5 minutes. Now, I don't know of any black person anywhere that can do that without authorization of somebody white.
I don't either, Mr. Fuller. But I tell you this, and thank you. He continues with this. This is Ray. He continues with this. He says, Mr. Fuller, also, what if artificial intelligence suggests the removal of those who are the most to blame on the planet? What say you to that? Produce justice in serious times because justice is inevitable. So what say you to that, Mr. Fuller, according to what Ray has asked?
Well, if artificial intelligence does that, it does that. Because I understand that artificial intelligence doesn't have to listen to nobody. It's like a person that's completely immune from being tampered with. I would think that would be artificial intelligence at its ultimate, but it hasn't gotten there yet.
That we know
there's some type of intelligence on its own that can now, and apparently it's mostly white people who brought about this artificial intelligence. Now you got the artificial intelligence telling them what to do, or else,
or so they say. Or what
Neely Fuller will be on this podcast, but the artificial intelligence say Neely Fuller is going to be on this podcast, and nobody else is going to be doing anything on any podcast because I'm going to shut all the rest of them down. I am artificial intelligence. I'm taking over from the white supremacists, and they invented me. Just like a child growing up and taking over the household. All right? Now, that's possibly, it could be done.
It could,
but it hasn't happened yet.
Yes. It kind of reminds me of the movie 2001, which the artificial intelligence began to take over. I guess one of the famous.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ray, for that question. I did text you back and told you that Mr. Fuller addressed your question. Okay. Let's go. Let's get the holler from the dollar. Boy, that the sports town of the world right now. But the dollar didn't call in for sports. He called in. Dollar, get ready. We got you on here. Go ahead. I'm a Mets fan, by the way. Go ahead, Dollar Bill.
Good morning, everybody. I want to thank you, Mr. Fuller, for the book. I just wanted to say to you guys, we have our election coming up. I wanted to ask you some a political question, Mr. Fuller. And my question today is, if you became president, if you were to become president, what policies would you want to be implemented in your administration?
Replace the system of white supremacy with justice.
And what does that mean? What type of policies would you place in to do that? What would you correct?
Basically, just do what the code says people should be doing. Produce justice. That's the name of this, the podcast. It's called ProduceJustice.com. Now, what is justice? The specifics. Very simple. Guarantee that no person is mistreated. Now, that's like saying nothing, but it says everything. That's number one.
It sure does. It sure does.
It's just two parts to it, according to me. I made up this definition. Justice. Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated. That's number one. At no time, under any circumstance. Number two, guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Help of what kind? Whatever is constructive. If the person has a mental problem, you got a guarantee. You might have 10 people in a room. I'll give this illustration. I often do. You say, well, does anybody here, these 10 people in this room, have a problem? And all 10 people hold up their hands and say, I got a problem. And it's a mental problem. My mind is not straight. I'm all confused about everything, because that's the major mental problem in any situation, confusion. Okay? But then you say, okay, all 10 have a problem. Now, how does that problem affect each one of those 10 people? So they tell whatever their story is. So you help the person first who has the worst case scenario. That's the procedure, an answer to the question. That's the procedure. Regardless of where that person is, where on the planet, what their background is and all like that, that's the procedure for producing justice. Pick out the person that needs help the most. Start with that person.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
In what it is.
Mm-hmm. May I say this? Every show that Mr. Fuller that I've been associated with and have done, and that question that you asked Dollar Bill is really a question that really is asked in many different ways, but it's the same question. And it took me a minute to understand the answer that Mr. Fuller has given, but it's true. Not because Fuller has said it, because the logic suggests that. If you said the race problem, completely solve it by eliminating and replacing it with justice, all other problems would be solved. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. It's almost too simple to believe. But if you solve that problem, go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
Go ahead.
No, if you solve that problem, you wouldn't have any other problem right there, like he said. And his definition, and not because I'm on the show, but his definition is correct. You solve it by replacing it, and then number two, those who need the most constructive help get it. That's it. It's real
and you
simple.
Don't mistreat anybody in the process.
Yeah. That's it. It's so simple, people can't believe it. I don't believe it. Well, you don't have to believe it, but it's true.
And that's what you're working for. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
When you say, I want this, I want that, and all like that, you're saying the same thing. If you have a want, if it's something that you want, regardless of what it is, it's the same thing. Right. You don't want to be mistreated. Nobody wants to be mistreated unless they're mentally ill. And even most people don't, who are mentally ill don't want to be mentally ill.
Don't want to be. Mm-hmm.
Okay? So if they like mistreatment, that means they're mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to like mistreatment.
Mm-hmm. And this is why I push, and Fuller doesn't tell me to push this, but this is why I push the book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. This is why I push it, because in that book are suggestions in every area of people activity that you can address it. And he says this, and it's true. Some things may not be relevant to you at that point, but there might be something, or could be something in there that you could take it and glean from that will help you. It will help us to solve this problem. Other than that, we keep going around like a hamster in a cage over and over and over. Can't do that. Wait a minute, Dollar Bill, I'm going to give you a chance again here. Okay, wait a minute. There we go. Okay, Dollar Bill, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I fully agree with you guys, but I think what I'm trying to focus on a little bit more is the specifics from Mr. Fuller's point of view. His 90-something years of being on the planet, he should have observed things that he would say, you know what, yes, I justice and his definition of justice, absolute. But the fact of the matter is we need to do this specifically to get this form of justice. And I'll land my plane right there. You understand?
Okay.
So that's basically what I'm saying. Does he see specifically, we need to fix this. But I get the point of you saying, hey, justice and no one should be mistreated in those things. But
and replacing,
right. That's where I was aiming for. I get that. I get that definitely. Thank you. I'm gonna stay on the line, Mr. Bobby, if I can.
Okay, I got you. Okay. Yeah, people. I'm serious about this. It took me a minute, even as Mr. Carl Nelson has said. It takes a minute to absorb this because it's really simple, but yet it's so profound. To eliminate it and then replace it. You just can't eliminate the system of white supremacy and not replace it with nothing, or else it'll grow back. You have to replace it with justice. And Mr. Fuller, what is, just for those who are tuning in, especially those who are new to the program, could you give the compensatory definition of justice?
The compensatory definition of justice is as follows. Guarantee that no person, if you're talking about justice, you're talking about people, no person is mistreated. That's number one. It's just two parts. Mm-hmm. Number two, guarantee that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help in economics, in education, in entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. The most constructive help. Not non-constructive, not destructive. You got to guarantee that the person gets the most constructive help in all of these areas of activity. Can't leave out anything. That's helping a person. And in the process of doing that, you can't mistreat anybody else. You're treating this person correctly, but what about all the other people you encounter? Same thing. Guarantee that nobody's mistreated. Nobody. And guarantee that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Start with that person first.
Yeah.
Just that simple. It is so simple that every Tuesday and throughout my book and every day that I latched on to it and tried to and say it over and over again runs right past 99%.
It really does. It really does.
And they will call right in and ask the same question, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had people who have regular radio programs who said, I don't understand what you're saying. When it gets to the doing part, I said, I just said it.
Yep.
I mean, you're going to walk out the door. Are you going to mistreat somebody today? Ask yourself that. Is anybody going to mistreat you? So what you do is all the things that it takes to guarantee that there's no mistreatment. Now, how are all problems solved? I say that on every program. Questions and answers.
Every program.
Every program I say that. I say start when you see somebody mistreated, start asking questions.
Yes.
And then another question, and then another question.
And another one.
But never move to the second question until the first question has been answered. Now, that's very specific.
Very specific.
Everything in these textbooks, I got lists of things, the 10 stops.
Yes.
Now, a person will open the book and read those 10 stops and then go right back to doing the same thing. Stop being discourteous.
Same thing.
Right.
Listen, Mr. Fuller. Now, listen. Now, what you just said is absolutely true. And matter of fact, it's backed up by your statement that you made 53 years ago, which you say on every program, and I have the 1984 edition that I'm looking at right now, but you made this statement in 1971. 1971, you start off every program with it. This is going to be live, everybody. Mr. Fuller, what do you say every program, including this one this morning, in spite of the usual suspects?
Over and over again this morning.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. If you don't understand.
If you don't understand white supremacy, and in parenthesis, racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. So the first thing you have to do is understand racism, what it is and how it works. You have to know things like, for example, a non-white person cannot be a racist. That's a flat statement. Now, the first thing, according to what I have written, that you ask is that statement true or false? Because you got to start with the truth. If you don't start with the truth, everything else is downhill anyway. But now I just read the statement. That runs right past most people.
Yep.
You heard me say it. If you don't understand white supremacy, you're going to be confused about everything. I'm saying that. That's either true or false. Somebody asked me years ago, "Oh, Fuller, come on. You mean if I don't understand white supremacy, I don't know how to drive a car?" Now, see, that's a question. And my answer was, yeah, depending on what context you want to have. You're going to be confused if you don't understand white supremacy. Everything else that you understand, including driving a car, is going to confuse you. Why? Because you're not going to know very much about where the gas comes from, who is suffering from it. It's a whole lot of things.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
Where does that gas really come from? Has been anybody where it comes from being mistreated? You got gas in the tank now. But you might say that, well, I'm a preacher, you know, and I'm not complicit in anything. I mean, of mistreatment of anybody. I never mistreated nobody, you know. Well, you drive a car. You got gas in the car. Do you know everything about where that gas comes from? It's made from oil. Where does oil come from? How are the people being treated where the oil comes from?
It can go on and on and on. But listen, we're going to have to close out the first hour.
Yeah, you got a diamond ring on your finger. Where did that diamond come from? A place called South Africa. Oh.
Uh-huh. Yeah, maybe blood diamonds.
If you don't understand white supremacy, you look at that shiny diamond like a lot of us are going to be doing come Christmas and say, wait a minute. Maybe I shouldn't be buying this diamond. Bling, bling.
All right. First hour, got to close it right here. First hour's in. Thank you for listening. Apologize for, you know what happened at the beginning, those that are hanging on. But we'll try to do better in this second hour. For those of you who have to go, thank you so much for listening to the first hour. And we'll do better. Any mistakes that we've made, you know what to do. First of all, I'm going to ask forgiveness, and I think Fuller is with me on that. But we'll try to do better. We'll see you next week. But for those who are going to be for the second hour, you know what I say. Stick and stay. Don't go away. We'll be back in 7 seconds. All righty. You know, people actually count those 7 seconds. Welcome to the second hour of the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and we are absolutely delighted to be able to do this and present the program for you. To get in contact with the show, do so by this number here, 516-453-9921. And if you have a question or comment, please do, ma'am or sir, just press the number 1 button and wait until you are recognized. And then when you are, just give your name so that they will give that to me. And I can properly, without messing it up, hopefully, give you their proper introduction. Now, if you are a first-time caller, be sure to tell that person that so that you can get on the screen, and we have a special program set up for you. I call it priority status. You will be heard. And speaking about priority status, MS, I know that you listen. I say this from time to time, but Fuller has given you the priority status. That means you can call in. To be honest with you, everybody really does have priority status. But anyway, yeah, including that person that person also. That's the number. Now, for those who would like to Gmail me, and you can, this is the Gmail address. It's the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, MRBOBBY, at gmail.com. I will get it and read it at a certain time, and you can go on from there. Speaking about that, Mary, thank you for those beautiful comments. Thank you. Appreciate that. And Rashida, thank you. Okay. And Ray Lacey, yes, thank you. Thank you very much. And lastly, you can do this. You can go to the chat room. All you have to do is go to blogtalkradio.com, okay? Then you want to click on where it says programs. You click on that, then you want shows. The shows that will come up there'll be many shows, but the show you want is the Produce Justice Show, which many of you have tuned into this morning. Thank you. Yes, thank you for that. And then the chat room is right there. You can get in there, and there's some good information in there. If you want to know about more about what we discussed last week with Representative, she's now deceased, the late Sheila Jackson Lee, my brother, #7, yeah, I'm still messing that up, has some good information in there. We do that so that you can look it up to see for yourself, not just taking words or somebody saying, but look it up, research it. I call it also intelligence, that you will know what you need to know to do what you need to do. All right. Oh, yeah, and books. Yeah, get this manual. which is the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept that you can get by going to producejustice.com. Producejustice.com. Get that book and pick it up, read it at any point to find out if something is relevant to you, and then address your needs, and then you can call in about it to get more clarity on it. But make sure you get that book. It's an operating manual. Well, at least that's what I call it anyway. Good information in there. You can get that by going to producejustice.com. All righty. Call-ins available, and we're going to go to Milwaukee, and that's going to be my brother. Whoa, wait a minute. Went past it there. Victor, I see you there. Okay, here we go. Yeah, boy, them suspects are busy today, aren't they? All right, Corey. Go ahead, Corey. Do it.
Greetings, Mr. Bobby and Mr. Fuller. I had a VGQ caller, Joshua, called, and his question was, those of us, because I'm one of the people, I'm a non-white person who uses the term white supremacy. He asked those of us who use the term white supremacy, have we traveled to any places outside of this country, so-called America? I have. I've lived in several countries. I lived in France. I've traveled to Ethiopia, Senegal, lived in both of those countries. And my VGQ is that I suspect that caller is a suspected white supremacist if he is white by making that statement, because I've seen white supremacy racism everywhere on the planet. And the reason why people are trying to get to this country is because of the borders that the white supremacists have made, and it's because of the horrible conditions that a lot of people face in these other countries. It's because of the white supremacist system. That's a global system. And there is no politics, no voting for someone. We have to cast our vote and our hands and our minds and our mouths to eliminate the system of white supremacy, racism, and replace it with justice. Voting or all these things is not where it's at. That's not the solution. We need to get rid of the global system of white supremacy, racism, place it with justice. Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
Okay, did you have a question there, Corey?
No, I didn't have a question.
Okay, all right. We appreciate that statement. All right, Corey. Mr. Fuller,
yes,
you care to comment on that?
that's a part of the code.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even that. I mean, what he just said, he's entitled to say that. Why? Because if he's a victim of white supremacy, he can say anything he wants to say according to logic and justice about his victimization. And I'm not supposed to object to it. See, that's the part. People keep asking me, well, what do you do, Fuller? You will never get to the doing part. I just said it. I am not qualified to criticize anything that a black person says about race, racism, or counter-racism. I'm not qualified to do that. It's called VGQ, Victims Guaranteed Qualification. Just by being a victim, you can say anything you want to about your victimization. And Neely Fuller, according to Trying to Produce Justice, Neely Fuller is supposed to take the position. That's why I say we need this code of what to do. People keep saying, you ain't telling us what to do. Stop criticizing other black people when they make statements about race, racism, or counter-racism. Make statements against racism or for racism. And what you're supposed to say is when people ask you, well, what do you have to say about what Miss Jackson Lee said? Fuller. I said, she said what she said. That's automatic. See, that's what I mean by we need that kind of code. And that's what I try to give out every week. But I understand how people can call in and say, yeah, but you ain't telling us nothing about the doing part. I just said it. Never criticize what any other black person says, even though you might be biting your tongue and gritting your teeth. Neely Fuller is not qualified. I'm not eligible to criticize anything that another black person says, another non-white person says. Even saying something for racism. See, racism treated me all right. And all I can say is somebody say, Fuller, what do you have to say about what he said? I said, he said what he said.
He said what he said.
And you think about it, and and whatever you want to do with it, but don't criticize what he said. He's guaranteed the qualification to say he likes the way everything is.
Mm-hmm.
He's guaranteed the qualification to say that as a victim. See, we need that kind of a code, rigid, no wiggle room.
All righty. Okay. Well, let's see. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Thank you, Ms. Love, for your comment. Thank you, Trent. Thank you for your comment. Appreciate that. All righty. Let's go to AP. Okay, AP, wait a minute. Let me get you in here. AP, you are there. Good morning, AP.
Good morning, Mr. Fuller, and good morning, Mr. Bobby. Funny how Corey just beat me to the punch of making an assessment of, and we could be wrong, but I doubt very seriously if we are, in terms of logically speaking, of the caller Joshua, who called in around 9:35 this morning, sounded like a white person. Now, I could be wrong, Corey could be wrong, or all of us listening, but if the caller, Joshua, wants to correct us, I would invite him to call in again, because he, in my mind, out of all the years that I've been listening to you, Mr. Fuller, is about the first caller, white caller, clearly that sounded like one, that has called in your show. And sometimes with all the questions that Mr. Fuller is asked by black people, they are not many white callers that have called in the show. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Bobby, if you have felt differently about it. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because we have where Joshua kind of made the point in asking the question, where other people are they asked if they have visited other countries. I'm from a military father. That's why I have such respect for Mr. Fuller's tenure in, he's told us before, the Army and the Air Force, and his employment in tenure at the United States Treasury Department. Is that correct, Mr. Fuller?
Yes. 32 years. 32 years at the Treasury Department alone.
Mm-hmm.
4 years in the Air Force, 2 in the Army.
Wow. Okay. So my father was military. He spent 24 years in the Air Force and had a tenure in Vietnam. Now, I'm not one who is gung-ho about any branches of the service because of the practice of what I have seen and what I still continue to see, the practice of racism worldwide, the global system that you and Francis Cress Welsing so eloquently talk about. And my issue is that speaking on the political climate of what we see in racism, white supremacy, that the white supremacists are so thorough and so great at deception and lies, fears are at the root of how they're able to practice this global system of racism, white supremacy, and we're having a hard time contesting it. So the political climate of what I'm talking about, what we see now that's going on with the so-called Democratic Party, the Republican Party, and the election that's coming up in November, is that there is a continuing we see how Trump operates and the political fighting and the division that they claim is going on in America right now, because of the politics, it makes it very difficult. Yes, we want to produce justice, but they obstruct, they delay. We see this in what Trump does. He's only the most visible person in terms of what he does, in terms of how he delays, how he obstructs, and how the system of America obstructs. Now, everybody who wants to come here, yes, it looks good on the outside until they come here. And if you I listen to, and I would suggest that the radio audience listen to the Nation of Islam and how they sum up what goes on. The people who are religious who practice either Islam or Christianity, bottom line is do the right thing and treat people like you want to be treated and produce justice. And that's what is not being done. And the infighting that we see is something that we see in Trump mainly because he has the money and the means and the enablers who allow him to do it, but also in the political system of whether you vote Democrat or Republican, they still delay. And he wants to set us back. He wants to set and still produce racism, white supremacy that can continue to go on, and another side wants to delay it and produce justice. So I would just like to say to Mr. Fuller, you're doing a great job saying what you're saying, but I want people to understand this. They need to continue to listen to MSNBC. They're going to be the ones that are the most formative, the most directly tell you what's going on with what's going on in the politics, because commercialism and what we see, they have dummied down the American public, and they use ignorance and manipulating the narrative through the media. Thank you very much. That's my VGQ.
All righty, VGQ from AP. Okay, looks like Talik, but I think I'm going to go to Victor here. Victor, let me see if I can get this over here with all the play of the usual suspects, which they're still playing, by the way. Victor, let's see here. Good morning.
Oh, hi, Mr. Bobby. Hi, Mr. Fuller. Mr. Fuller, I have a question about how the system of white supremacy works in the minds of people. How is it that each individual person of color seems to experience racism individually, and they never seem to be aware of it collectively, since white people, the people who practice white supremacy practice racism collectively against people of color. I've seen some situations where I'm being mistreated based on the fact that I'm not white, but it seems as if I'm an individual person, and it's happening individually, and it doesn't appear to be happening.
All right, let Ms. Fuller answer that question. Ms. Fuller?
If I understand the question, people think the way that they do about racism because they think in a way that the racists have taught them to think. And we're not aware of it. Where do we get our ideas? I mean, like the code says, for example, never accuse Americans of doing anything. Reason being, and I'm saying this to the whole world right now for the umpteenth time, never accuse an American of doing anything. Why? Well, that's the logical question. Why? Why don't accuse Americans? Americans have done this, they did this, they did this, they did. No American ever did anything at all. That's a flat statement. Don't let that run past you. No American ever did anything at all. Anything. Why? Now, that question is being asked of me because I asked the question, or made the statement, rather. Then I asked a question. Why? And I'm going to give the answer. No American ever existed. Period. It's an idea. America is an idea. What is that idea? Justice. Now, that's going to run right past zillions of people. Why do I know this? Because it always does. And they're going to go right back to saying, well, Americans did this and Americans... Wait a minute, hold it. What did I just say? I'm talking about going to court, because I always say, according to the code, everybody's in court and everybody's on trial, particularly when it comes to anything you say about racism. I'm on trial right now, or supposed to be, because I'm saying this. I will go into anybody's court, and this statement that I just made, if I went to anybody's court right now, where they said, speaking truth to power or whatever, and they allow me to tell the truth and say what I want to say, I say just what I said just now. No American ever did anything at all, period. Americans did this and Americans did that. And stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. Americans don't exist. How could they have done anything? How can something that doesn't exist do anything? No American has ever existed. There was a fellow named Amerigo Vespucci or something like that.
Yeah, Amerigo Vespucci. Uh-huh.
He was a journalist, but his name was Americus, and so they named some land and its people, and the people in the land, I don't know what the land knew, but the people didn't know anything. Americus, who's he? Americans, who are they? I'm Mohawk. Who are you? See, I mean, confusion. So get it straight in your head to start with. Don't ever accuse an American of doing anything, because there's never been not one American that has ever existed. Ever. There's no record of it. Because an American, first of all, by definition, is a person that doesn't mistreat anybody, and then it's the back door to that house, and doesn't allow anybody to be mistreated. Now you ask a logical question. Is anybody being mistreated? And the answer is yes. Somebody's being mistreated somewhere every second of every day. Justice. See, an American practice is justice. That's number one. Does anybody practice justice in the system of white supremacy? No.
Yes.
It's impossible. Mm-hmm. See, that's what I mean by listening and taking words seriously. The word American. Even on this program today, I've heard that term American come up several times just in the last few minutes. Yeah. And Americans don't do anything. They don't exist and never have.
Yes. And his
now, that's
name
another way of thinking altogether.
Mm-hmm.
But I will go before any judge, just right out of who's just been appointed or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying, Your Honor, I'm saying the Americans have never existed.
Yeah. Okay.
Never in recorded history. And I'm either lying on this witness stand or telling the truth.
Okay. Just so that we can be factually correct, because trust me, people do check on the things that Fuller says or that I say. His name is Amerigo Vespucci, not Americus. And believe me, somebody would come in there and come against that, saying that we're giving out bad information. But his name was Amerigo Vespucci, an Italian explorer. Yeah, that's who. And yes, I don't know who named so-called America after him, but Fuller was correct on that part there. Somebody did that, and so now you have this concept in the Northwestern Hemisphere called, well, you know what it's called. Anyway, tell you what, let's take a break. You're listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and we do thank you for tolerating us today. We will try to do our best as we always do. Call-in number for those of you who would like to, and we do thank you, 516-453-9921. Do it. Call in with your questions and make sure that when you make contact or contact is made with you, give the person your name so that I can give you an introduction to that. First-time callers, make sure you identify yourself as a first-time caller, and you have priority status. So right there, you will be heard. Excuse me. Let's see. You can purchase the book that Mr. Fuller has written, and again, it's called The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, and you can get that book right now at ProduceJustice.com. ProduceJustice.com. Make sure you do that. Okay, let's see here. Oh, yes, you can Gmail me if you have a question or comment and want me to read that. Here it is, the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, MRBOBBY, at gmail.com. I will get your email, and at an appropriate time we'll read it. That pile that I did have was beginning to be reduced, so that's good. And we'll go back and get some of those and read some of those like that. Okay, let's see, one more thing here. You got the book. Okay, yeah, Blog Talk. If you want to get into the chat room, go to blogtalkradio.com, and you want to click on where it says programs, and the program you want is the Produce Justice Show. Get that, Produce Justice Show. And then when you click on that, then the chat room is available for you to get in. There's some powerful information on that, so make sure that you do that. Okay, here. I thought I had Talik over here. Okay, Talik, I don't see you on here, but you were on here. I was getting ready to click to you unless I missed. Oh, there we go. It was me. Not your fault, Talik. I'm telling you, Mr. Fuller and I have been navigating through, you know what is, the usual suspects. But here we go. The brother from the Yo. Yeah, here he is, right here. Talif. Go ahead, my brother.
Morning, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. I hope everything is going well. A lot of changes going on in the Yo, Mr. Bobby. I'll have to keep you up there. They're doing a lot of upgrading. Now they want the so-called immigrants there, so there's a lot of things going on here in the U.S.
Okay, all right. Real quick,
I'm gonna try to be brief. I haven't been on the show in a while, but I'm just gonna say it, and I know people are not gonna like it. But Mr. Fuller, our people are pathetic. Now, I didn't hear the beginning of the show because I was busy doing something, but I'm hearing people saying that it may have been did they say a white supremacist or white person that called in? Well, guess who the biggest white supremacists we are? We don't even like each other. Now, I don't know if he said something or sounded a certain way. I have a person who's near and dear to me, and she speaks very eloquently. She crosses all her T's, dots her I's. And when my nephew met her the first time, she sounded like a white girl. She's just as brown-skinned as I am. So I don't know where we get that from. But if you go to New York, most of the people there that's a certain age, they use the N-word all day long. What's up, my nigga? The Puerto Ricans use it. So, but I think, Mr. Fuller, there's a few more things I wanted to say. If you go to the church, if you go to your church, you got white Jesus, white angels, you practice white supremacy. Those Federal Reserve notes you got in your pocket. So we need to change our thought pattern. But I'm going to say this, Mr. Fuller. I think that the reason why you get all these questions back to back, even though you explain things in your book, is that I don't think that the majority of our people believe that they're victims. Yeah, and I think that's why you and Mr. Bobby get these questions about, because every time you have to remind them of your definition of justice. And also, you keep telling them America is not America. To me, America is just not only America, but the world is one big corporation. That's why I live my life like a business every day. I don't get caught up in politics and all that stuff. So, Mr. Fuller, you're saying what you're saying, and I know you always say you're not anybody's leader, but you're right. America has never existed, and I think with the help of the people that set this system up, we are our own worst enemy. And the brother said, listen to MSNBC. No, people listen to Jim Jones, and they drank the Kool-Aid. So do you get mad at Jim Jones, or the people that's listening to the Republicans or the Democrats or your preachers or your pastors? Now, I don't know if that's a VGQ, Mr. Fuller, or if you want to respond, but America has never been America. Rome, I've traveled everywhere. I've lived in Russia, Japan. I lived on the island of Seychelles. I've lived in Ethiopia, Eritrea, you name it, Egypt. I've been everywhere on the continent. And the one brother is right about this global system. But today, I'm not taking the onus off of us for continuing that practice. And that's what gets me. We call in and say, oh, Mr. Fuller, no. This place, if you don't change it, we don't change our mindset, Mr. Fuller, you can talk to you blue in the face. Mr. Bobby can have this show every Tuesday. We can talk about it every day. And if we don't change our mindset about what we're doing, we don't even like each other. We kill each other. We rob from each other. Yeah, do they have something to do with that? But we're in 2024. And if we don't see something different till this day, you're going to keep getting the same questions that you're getting, and we're going to keep living life as we've been living it. And I'm not going to say anything else. I appreciate you taking my call, Mr. Bobby, and I'll keep you updated on everything. There's some good things going on in the Yo, so y'all have a good day, but I just had to get that out.
All right. Thank you. Thank you there, Talif. Mr. Fuller, we always talk about, you always speak about health, and then there are a lot of people that felt that health should be one of the a list of people activities, but you also included that in all the other 9 areas of people activity. I bring it up because I had been dealing with some health issues, and I remember you addressed the health issue, and particularly the food that that's what I'm homing down on. And I had a gut problem. Now the problem is solved, and I thank the Lord for that, in determining and what is good for you. And I remember you had saying something about broth, which I do now include, and cleaning out the things that happen in the gut system or health-wise, and determining that most of the food that we eat is not good. In fact, it's not food. It really isn't. So could you address that issue and the in particular, the broth and the things that you eat to have a good system? And I'm going to say this: if your gut system is messed up, your intestines and all that, it's going to produce some very terrible things for you. So, Mr. Fuller, would you address that, please?
There is there was what you call a bodybuilder named Jack LaLanne.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Some people may vaguely remember him. He was a white man who was a bodybuilder, and he was asked about building your body. A person building their body, building your body up rather than tearing it down. He was very strong. Used to put a rope in his mouth, I think, and pull a steamship while he's swimming. He attached a rope to a steamship. Evidently, it had to be a pretty small steamship. But I don't remember whether or not I saw a picture. I think I saw a picture of him doing it. And he either tied it around his waist or something like that. But he actually would jump in the water with his swimming trunks on, and he was so strong he could pull that ship. Now, a ship, even small yachts, sometimes people are not that strong to swim and pull a steamship. But I understand that he could do that. And he said this about food, very simple, that even to this day, it still sticks. But just like all the things that I say every Tuesday, most of it just goes out in the thin air. Nobody acts on it. Jacqueline Lane is reported to have said, and somebody told me this, if man made it, don't eat it. Now that's simple. But that's it. If man made it, you see all these crooks drawing big money in shelves. Now, I don't want them to lose their jobs, but they need all these fancy restaurants. The fanciest restaurants are making artificial food. That's the truth. I mean, you see it on television, right in your face. It's not really food, but it tastes great. I've been in some of them, but when you look at it and you think about, what am I looking at? Lettuce, tomatoes, onions. Now, these are not man-made. I guess. Spinach, beans, all kinds of beans. But when you start adding stuff that are chemicals, all right, taking stuff out of a laboratory and put it in there, and then too much of this and too much of that. And some things that shouldn't be put in there at all, like refined. See that word refined? Look out. Refined flour, refined wheat, refined anything means, I guess, according to Jacqueline Lane, man made it because he refined it. Sugar. Now, honey, if it's pure, no additions, peanut butter, and you add jelly to peanut butter and then put it in your stomach, what is that jelly made out of? They say, well, it's grape jelly. Pure grapes? No, they add stuff that you can't recognize in small print. They'll always keep it in small print. That should tell you something right there. And for those who haven't thought about it, I'm saying it, because I cannot read none of that, because it's too small. I have a magnifying glass and glasses, and I still can't see what the ingredients are in none of them packages. I mean, you really have to search for it. But the name of the brand takes up all the space. The brand name should be in small print.
Speak about that gut, rather that broth that you were speaking about, Mr. Fuller, and how important that is.
That what?
Broth. I remember you mentioning that you drink a lot of broth.
Oh. Well, but I'm not sure that the broth that I'm eating. I try to get more information on it.
Okay.
That broth And somebody else must have mentioned that. I don't remember saying much about broth.
Yeah.
But I did.
You did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did.
Okay,
But anyway,
well, I'll tell you what I do eat. I eat a lot of beans after I strain them. Why? Because they're loaded with salt. Now, salt is deadly. Anything with a lot of salt in it, strain it. So I strain a lot of beans. Some people cook them from scratch, which is even better.
Yeah.
But when I get them out of a can, I strain them and run water on them. And then I'll put some broth in there and a whole lot of boiled water. Because you can't trust tap water in a lot of places these days.
Yeah, it's polluted. Yes.
But if it's all kinds of chemicals and everything else in tap water. All right. But you do the best you can.
Yeah, that's it. That's what you said. You said do the best you can with that. So what I'm saying
with what you get, right?
Yeah, you can't eliminate it all, but I have.
You can't eliminate it all because it's all poison, and from what I understand, you can't eat any rice at all.
I have eliminated that.
And rice, and I love rice. All right, if you want to use that word, love. But I don't eat rice because they say all rice is loaded with poison that people put in it.
Yeah.
See, if man made it, don't eat it. If man has been tampering with it any kind of way, like fattening up these chickens with a whole bunch of chemicals.
You
have to do research on every chicken that you eat.
I bring that up because of the issues that I was having, and I researched it. I call it intelligence about the different foods, and like you just said, and it's true. It's almost like you were over my shoulder. I had a magnifying glass out, whatever, to find out. And some of these names of these chemicals I couldn't produce. I mean, I couldn't
pronounce.
Yeah, but
you got no idea what it is.
Right. I had to learn, and still learning, how to eat and how it affects my digestive system. Now I am better. I am 1,000% better. But particularly when you get over a certain age, I would say 65, certain things or certain habits that I was used to, I couldn't do anymore. I couldn't eat the way that I used to. I wasn't eating properly anyway. Come to think about it, I thought I was. But even on the so-called organic food, you have to watch. You have to research and do that. And I remember the different things that you had indicated that we could do about that. And some of the callers had talked about, addressing, health issues, which is very important. And the older you get, you need to understand how to take care of yourself and to eliminate that through the system that the Creator has put in us, without being specific. But I'm talking about BMs and all that kind of stuff. Health is extremely important. If you haven't faced it now, and you live long enough, trust me, you will. You will understand that. All right. Anyway, let's go here, Victor. Excuse me.
I'd just like to say something.
Yeah,
right
go ahead.
Now.
Go ahead.
Just one thing.
Yes, sir.
Any type of sodas, stop drinking them. I'm gonna say that right now. I'm getting in big trouble now. When you walk into a grocery store, you see more sodas, particularly where black people are, than you see anything. Stop drinking any of that poison, because that's exactly what it is.
And
there's no nutrition value at all. And it's pure poison, and it gives you what? One thing that a lot of black people have. Arthritis.
All right,
now I'm making that flat statement. Now, I'm doing something inflammatory right now because I am in big trouble from this moment on with everybody who's making sodas of any kind, because I'm saying stop root beer sodas and all that. Sodas.
Sodas, okay.
All of them. Stop. And all the phony orange juice, phony apple juice. What I mean by certified phony is it's got anything else in it other than juice that comes directly from the apple or from the orange. It's rare. It's a whole lot of stuff that looks like orange juice and apple juice, and those are two number one fruits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But when you look at what is the ingredients say, you don't recognize the juice that came from an orange. Because a lot of it ain't no orange in it. None.
None. Yeah. I almost gave one away, but I better not, because that would be that would get us. So I'm not going to do that.
Man, they are hunting for. They're sending hit squads out for me right now. I'm telling you, because you messing with billions of dollars here.
Dollars, that's it.
Yeah. Colas all over what they call freaking rum and, hey, I ain't going no further.
Yeah, leave it there.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. I don't have a name here, but I'm going to take a chance. Okay, I don't have your name. I'm going to take a chance. Go ahead. You're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question, and what is your name?
Sorry, Mr. Bobby. It's Victor again.
Okay,
Mr.
Victor.
Fuller, the question that I asked you didn't really answer the question. You did say that they affect the way how we think, but I'm just trying to understand how. I don't understand how we experience white supremacy, not as a group, but individually. It's something that I've been thinking about for the past 3 weeks.
Well, they teach us they send us to what we call school. For instance, I went to military schools when they taught me this and that and the other about communism. I went to Korea under the banner of I'm fighting communism. And they say capitalism is the thing. But then I thought back. I said they didn't teach me nothing in no school about how to be a capitalist. Anybody ever noticed that? And I'm going to say that on this program this morning. Hey, you're going to teach me about capitalism, going to teach me all about it and whatnot, and the profit up, and always speak in favor of capitalism. How come I don't have no capital? See, that's the question you should ask from now on, starting with this day if you never asked it before. I want capital. I want to be able to sit and talk on the phone and have money coming in so much that I don't know what to do with it. I ain't got room for it. Because they say, well, that's what a capitalist does. Teach me how to be that. I want to talk on the phone and make millions of dollars while other people out here begging for dimes. Now, I fought for capitalism. Give me the capital. Before I get off the boat or the plane or where, hey, meet me not with a band. Save the band for later. I can get my own band. Have people standing out there on the tarmac with, you had me leave here with a duffel bag on my shoulder. When I come back, I want a duffel bag, people lined up with duffel bags full of $100 bills. Anybody know how big a duffel bag is and how heavy they can get? Well, somebody can probably show you one if they still have duffel bags. But how about them apples? Duffel bags full of money. Fighting for what? Fighting against the communism, which means, like I was told in one seminar, communists, the difference between communism and capitalism is that communism, everybody has a whole lot of nothing. Now, that's what I was told. Communism, in simple terms, everybody has a whole lot of nothing. If you're a communist, you got a whole lot of nothing. If you're a capitalist, you got plenty of everything. Now, who don't want plenty of everything? I like to have plenty of everything, then I sort out what I don't want. But looks like nobody's knocking themselves out trying to guarantee that I have plenty of everything and enough to give somebody else and throw away the rest. That's what they say a capitalist does. I ain't never been in that kind of position. And know very few people personally who have. I just wanted to say that much.
Mm-hmm.
Start asking questions about how to be a capitalist when you go to any school. When I come out of here, am I going to be a capitalist or not? Yes or no? Otherwise, I don't need to know nothing about what Shakespeare said.
Okay. Let's see. Wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. Don't have it over here. Okay. Victor, did that answer your question?
Well,
He hadn't asked it yet.
No, it didn't really answer my question. I just trying to understand this mistreatment system, because we live in a system of mistreatment. So how is it that a lot of people of color experience white supremacy individually and they don't see it? They don't seem to understand that it's a collective mistreatment. So it doesn't matter where we are in the world. I'm in Canada. You guys are in the States. But even in Canada and United States, we all get mistreated simultaneously.
Well, because of people like you. You start asking questions. Is everybody else asking these same questions? When you look around? I mean, I'm talking to the caller now. The questions are you asking me? When people come to you, talk to you, do they ask the same questions?
No, they rarely ever ask any questions. Rarely.
There you go. Now, hold it right there. Now you got your answer. Now you can ask more questions. Why is it they're not asking the questions that you're asking? What do you think? Maybe it's because they haven't been. Maybe it's because in Canada they haven't taught anything about white supremacy.
No, they don't, Mr. Fuller. They don't.
All right, now we're getting somewhere. That's the answer.
Wow. I never thought about that, Mr. Fuller. I'm so glad that you're still with us and you're answering questions, because without you, sir, I would be so confused.
Suppose somebody like me was in every classroom in Canada saying and had the counter-racist code book in there that they were teaching from. Do you think there would be a difference?
Yes, sir. There would definitely
come
be
graduation time, there'd be a difference in what people would be saying and thinking about.
Hey, thank you. Hey, Victor, next time you call in, please cut down your background noise, because it does interfere with the broadcast. Thank you very much.
Sorry, sir.
All right, Mr. Fuller. Man, a very interesting show today with all the things that happened. But as you said, hope for the best and expect the worst. And so, baby, that was put into practice today. But guess what? we have come to the end.
God.
So thank you very, very much here. Mr. Fuller, we got about a couple of minutes to go here. I'm going to have you speak to your book, and then we're going to close it out. We've got about 2 minutes, so go ahead, do your thing.
Get the book and absorb what you read. It's a lot of instructions in the textbook for victims of white supremacy. All right? Lots of instructions. But apparently a lot of people, and I can understand it. It's something that I don't have any problem understanding it. We read and don't absorb. But it's one thing that Confucius said that I just recently heard that he said it. I read it, I think, on the TV screen up in the corner of some program. And it said, Confucius said this: life is simple. Men make it complicated. Now, that's something that runs right past the average person. It would have run past me. But I understand what that means, just like he said it. If he said it, Confucius. Many, many, many years ago, before I was born, life is simple. Men make it complicated. So then this started my mind to working. What men? Who, where? And how do they make it complicated? And since I'd already written the book, textbook for victims of white supremacy, I'll say, well, men who can really be called men and not boys are the white supremacists. Because men means man or managers, and the white supremacists manage more things than anybody, all right? Or you can call it mismanagement, but it's still managed, all right?
Okay.
So then you take it from there. See, everything that you read, take another look at it, and then try to think about what you just read.
Mm-hmm.
And how it can be used to do the things that need to be done.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Thank you for just everybody for being patient. We'll try to do better the next time, so forgive us for all the mistakes that we have made. Don't forget to get the book, going to producejustice.com. And this statement here, how about this? Hope for the best, but expect the worst. That way you will be prepared. All right, so everybody have a good week, and we hope you do better next week. Mr. Fuller, the final word to you.
That's it. Hope for the best, expect the worst, and then work for the best.
All righty. All right, everybody, have a good week. Bye.
When your celebration of life is prepaid in advance, it becomes a gift from you to your family later, because no one should have to plan for a loss while they're experiencing one. Paying in advance protects your loved ones and gives you the peace of mind you deserve. Let us help you plan every detail with professionalism and compassion. We're your local Dignity Memorial provider. Find us at dignitymemorial.ca.